There's a voice that whispers when you least expect it, sometimes in the quiet of the night, sometimes in the middle of a rushed morning. It says, "You missed your chance. You waited too long. It's too late now." And though it rarely shouts, it echoes loudly in your spirit. You start to wonder if the things God placed in your heart were just dreams. If the calling you once felt so deeply has expired, buried under the years, the wrong turns, the delays you didn't plan. But here's the truth you need to hear today. God is not bound by time the way you are. He doesn't consult your calendar before He writes your purpose. He is not panicked by delays or shaken by detours. What He begins, He finishes. What He speaks, He fulfills. And what He's called you to, He's still calling. You haven't missed it. Yes, life may look different than you imagined. Yes, maybe you didn't follow the path you thought you would. But God isn't looking at your past with regret. He sees where you are now. He sees the journey it took to get here, and still, He calls you forward. It's easy to think that obedience only counts if it's immediate. But delayed obedience is not the same as disobedience when your heart still longs to respond. Sometimes it takes years to recognize the depth of God's call. Sometimes it takes brokenness, healing, waiting, maturity. And in all that time, He isn't standing still. He's preparing the soil of your soul. He's refining the purpose. He's making sure that when the moment comes, you're not only willing, you're ready. God doesn't need speed. He needs surrender. You might look around and see others running ahead. You might measure your progress by their milestones and feel small. But comparison is a thief. It will rob you of the sacredness of your own path. Just because someone else is moving differently doesn't mean you're behind. It means your journey is unique, and God only writes originals. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not forgotten. You are exactly where He knew you would be when He first placed the calling in your heart. So take a breath, quiet the lies, and begin again, not in fear, but in faith. You may not realize it now, but the very things you think disqualified you, those seasons of silence, of struggle, of uncertainty, may be the exact things God is using to shape your calling. Because God doesn't just use your strengths, He works powerfully through your weakness. He doesn't wait for you to become enough before He moves. He moves so that you'll finally know He is enough. We live in a culture obsessed with pace. Everything is fast. Fast growth, fast answers, fast results. But God's kingdom doesn't operate on the world's clock. His most sacred work often happens slowly, in hidden places, over long stretches of time, like seeds planted deep in the ground. No one sees them at first, but they are preparing to bloom. You are not late. You are becoming. Even if the world has moved on, even if people no longer ask about your dreams, even if you've stopped believing in yourself, God hasn't changed His mind. His plans are not like ours, and His patience is not fragile like ours. He's not frustrated by your detours. He's not disappointed by your timeline. He is simply waiting for you to say yes, not to a perfect plan, but to the next faithful step. And maybe that step is small. Maybe it's quiet. Maybe it's unseen. But every act of obedience, no matter how simple, becomes sacred when it's surrendered. Don't underestimate the power of starting where you are, of praying again even when you feel dry, of opening your heart again even after disappointment. That's not weakness, that's courage. And that courage, however shaky, is enough. So stop rehearsing the past. Stop replaying what you could have done, what you should have known. God is not asking you to go back. He's inviting you forward. And the same spirit that once stirred your heart is still stirring now. The same voice that called you years ago is still calling. You don't need more proof. You don't need another sign. You just need to remember what you already know. God called you. And He's still calling. The question now isn't, am I too late? The real question is, am I still willing? Because if you are, even with trembling hands, even with unsure steps, He will take what's in your heart and bring it to life in a way that's even better than what you imagined. Sometimes we assume that being on time means everything falling into place when we expect it, that the right job, the right relationship, the right moment will align perfectly like a scene in a movie. But real life rarely works that way, and neither does real calling. God's timing isn't about lining things up according to our plans. It's about preparing you for what He has planned. And preparation often means delay, not because you're doing something wrong, but because He's building something right, in you, around you, through you. What feels like a delay is often a divine pause, a space for your roots to go deeper, for your character to grow stronger, for your dependence on Him to become unshakable. God isn't just preparing your future, He's preparing you for your future. And it's in this waiting, this uncomfortable stretch of time where so much is revealed. You begin to see what you truly believe. Whether you trust God only when it's easy, or even when the evidence is missing. Whether you still say yes even when the spotlight is gone. Whether your obedience depends on outcomes, or simply on who He is. Faith isn't proven in the rush. It's proven in the pause. Maybe you've been waiting so long you've started to question the whole journey. Maybe you've compared your path to everyone else's and felt like you've missed something. But comparison blinds us. It steals our gratitude, clouds our vision, and robs us of the unique story God is writing in us. You were never meant to follow their path. You were meant to walk yours. And your path, however slow, however unexpected, is still valid. It's still sacred. Don't despise your pace just because it looks different. There's something beautiful God is forming in you that can only come through the road you're walking. So let go of the pressure to perform. Let go of the rush to arrive. What matters most is that you continue, step by step, yes by yes, breath by breath. God's calling is not something you chase to catch. It's something you respond to, not with anxiety, but with faith. You're not behind, you're just being led. The enemy would love for you to believe that you've missed it, that you're too old now, too broken, too far off course to still have purpose. He whispers lies that sound like logic. If it was really God's plan, wouldn't it have happened by now? If you were really called, why does everything feel stuck? But the voice of God doesn't accuse, it invites. It doesn't shame you for how long it's taken. It welcomes you as you are, right now. Think of Moses, called not in youth, but in his later years, called not from a palace, but from obscurity in the desert. Think of Abraham, who waited decades for God's promise, or Joseph, who sat forgotten in a prison before his destiny came to pass. Every one of them probably wondered at some point, is it too late for me? But with God, delay is never denial. What looks like slowness from our view is often mercy from God's. If He gave you everything you wanted when you wanted it, it might break you. But if He gives it when you're ready, it builds you, anchors you, protects you from collapsing under the weight of a blessing you weren't prepared to carry. You are not behind. You are being refined. And sometimes the refining hurts. It strips away ego. It challenges your timelines. It teaches you how to trust when the path disappears. But in that process, your soul becomes aligned not with the culture's demand for speed, but with God's invitation to faithfulness. You were never called to hurry. You were called to follow. And following requires trust, not in outcomes, but in the one who holds them. So even if others seem further ahead, don't rush your season. Don't abandon your calling just because it hasn't bloomed yet. You plant, you water, you wait. And in time, His time, God brings the growth. Because it's not about how fast you get there. It's about who you become along the way. One of the most dangerous lies you'll ever hear is this: you missed your chance. It's subtle. It wraps itself in regret and cloaks itself in logic. It tells you that you should have done things differently, that your window of opportunity has already closed, and now you're stuck with whatever scraps remain. But God doesn't write stories the way we do. He doesn't plan your life like a limited timeline with one small window for greatness. He writes in seasons, in chapters, in layers. And nothing surrendered to Him is wasted. Not time, not failure, not delay. In fact, the very things you thought disqualified you may be the things He uses most powerfully. Your heartbreaks, they taught you compassion. Your wrong turns, they revealed your deep need for Him. Your silence, it shaped your listening. You see, God isn't waiting for a flawless version of you to show up. He's not holding back your calling until you get everything perfect. He's calling you in the middle of the process, right in the mess, right in the waiting, right in the in-between. Because that's where real faith is formed. Not when you feel ready, but when you answer anyway. And here's what you need to know. The fact that you still feel the pull, that you still care, that you still wonder if it's possible, that's not random. That's not wishful thinking. That's evidence that God is still at work. He doesn't plant dreams to tease you. He plants them to grow. So let that pull be your permission to begin again. Let it be the holy whisper that says, it's not too late. Because God isn't in a rush, and He's certainly not done. He's not measuring your progress against someone else's timeline. He's walking with you, personally, intimately, knowing exactly when to open the next door. And when He does, you'll see that it didn't come too late, it came right on time. There's something sacred about realizing that your story isn't behind schedule. It's unfolding exactly as it should. We spend so much time believing we're late, believing we missed the mark, believing everyone else got ahead while we hesitated. But God doesn't pace you by comparison. He calls you in rhythm with His grace. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. The detours, the delays, the waiting, all of it is part of a greater orchestration you cannot yet see. God is not panicked. He has not rerouted His plan because you stumbled or paused. He saw this from the beginning. He factored it all in, and still, He chose you. Still, He called you. Right now, in this moment, you are exactly where He knew you would be. And His voice still speaks with clarity. Now is the time. Come with me. But maybe your heart still hesitates. Maybe it still asks, what if I'm not ready? Let this comfort you. Readiness in God's eyes is not about perfection. It's about willingness. The moment you say yes to His timing is the moment He begins to multiply your steps. You're not late, you're being aligned. What feels like slowness to you might actually be protection. What feels like missed opportunity might be divine redirection. And what feels like silence might just be preparation for a voice so clear it will shift your soul. So breathe, trust, take the next step, not because you have every detail, but because you trust the one who does. He's the God who made time, who holds seasons, who parts seas and raises dry bones. He doesn't just work with time, he redeems it. And if he's calling you now, it means it's time. Let go of the shame of delay. Let go of the fear of being late. Step forward with the boldness that comes not from knowing the whole path, but from knowing the one who walks it with you. You're not too late, you're right on time. And this is only the beginning.